Hi, everyone. My name is Georgette Truan. I am the host of Fight CPS Real Talk with Miss G, and I have my co host, Dave Biller. Hello, Dave. How are you
How
today,
are you
Dave?
doing? Oh, hanging in there, doing the best I can. How about you?
So, we're
So,
having an
well,
echo problem with Dave and me. So, what I'm going to do is when Dave speaks, I will mute myself, and when I speak, Dave is I'm going to mute Dave. Okay, and that way to resolve the echo. If you guys out there that are computer savvy and can explain to us why an echo happens, please let us know in a comment section. Okay. I wanted to open today's show with a social worker in the state of Iowa, who is with felonies and arrest records, and she's still a social worker in that state. The grandfather that spoke to me about it, he actually found that out, that she went to prison, and I have documents to prove that he's right. She went to prison for credit card fraud 3 times, and she has several convictions against her. I'm looking at it. We're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 probation, prison, uh, parole, prison again. So when she went to prison, like 1, 2, 3, 4, probation once, no, twice, and parole, felony, yeah, once. And she's still a social worker. Wow, it's amazing. So I know some of you guys follow my shows for years, and I remember several years ago I mentioned that social workers have records against them, and yet they have them work in the department to dictate, what to do with your children, and to dictate your parenting style, and your ethics and this and that, but they themselves don't possess any of that. And the reason the state uses people like that, and I'm talking about court appointed attorneys as well. I know a court appointed attorney in LA County that has felony charges and um, arrest records on him too. Okay. And he's still a court appointed attorney. The reason the state chooses broken people like that is because they want to use them. They are their little puppets. They want to do whatever they want to do, right? So they can implement the funding coming in, right? By stealing children. So basically, you have to be a criminal to commit crime, a crime.
a crime.
And when
And
they are
they
stealing
are
your
stealing
children,
your children
without a
without
reason as to
reason.
why, that's committing a crime. So I want you guys to be aware. If I were you, I would lawyer up from day one. And I want you guys to understand that having an attorney is extremely important, because you need to bring that to the attorney's attention. If you decide not to hire an attorney and you stick with the court appointed attorney, that court appointed attorney will never submit anything into evidence, even if he or she tells you they will. They will not subpoena anyone to testify. They will say they subpoenaed, but if you go to for example, if it's a nurse or a doctor that he said he subpoenaed, then you ask them, were you subpoenaed? They will say no. I guarantee you 100% they will say no. Okay. Remember, Nancy Schaefer spoke about this before, and I shared a video with you guys. She was a senator for Georgia. She exposed the system. She exposed DCFS. She exposed the whole entire strategy that they use to steal children, and for what? For profit. That's all it is, for profit. They medicate children when they take them from I think, age 2 and up. They give the children, they medicate them. They give them narcotics to keep them silent and confused. And then they say that the kids are crazy. They say that the kids are mentally unstable, or they say that the kids need help, need therapy, all of that. When the children don't need any of that, they just need to be with the parent that they choose to be with. Now, if both parents, they choose to be with both parents, that's what the child wants, to be with both parents. If the child wants to be with one parent and not the other, that doesn't mean that the child is being coerced. No, children love They don't know how to fake it. If a child runs to his mother or her or his dad or what have you, or both, the child loves them. When the child is abused, the child will fear them. Oftentimes we see children who are brainwashed from the other parent, telling them that the other parent is bad and the other parent is saying this, the other parent is saying this. But in reality, all of that to damage the child for their own gain. Whether you're dealing with a narcissist, whether you're dealing with a narcissist woman, a mother, or a narcissistic father, it doesn't matter. The abuser will always get upper hand. If you don't have the right defense, CPS defense attorney, you're going to lose this. I'm telling you right now, the court appointed attorneys will not help you. And everyone that's been on my shows, everyone that I spoke with, we're talking about like thousands of people that I spoke with throughout the years. And they all said the same thing. I spoke to a previous court appointed attorney. He told me, several of them actually, they told me that the system gives, like in the state, they have a scope. They can't go past the scope. They can't go on and beyond for you, meaning they have to be in that scope. And if they try to work further to the scope, then the judge will get upset and the county will get upset because it's the scope they want you to stay in. You can't go beyond that. So keep that in mind. And when you're working with the state, when you're dealing with the state and county, you're dealing with a higher power. So family court is nothing compared to the state. Why? Because the state can take the custody from family court anytime they want to. The state judges always take the recommendation of the social worker. The social worker will retaliate against you just because. There's no reason even given, but just the way you look, or the way you if you look better than her, or if you smell better than her, or if you just more educated than her, that social worker will retaliate and make sure everything is done against you to remove that child from you. Just keep in mind not to retaliate, not to have confrontational actions with them based on something you're aggravated from or you're upset about. Take it out on the social worker. You guys are giving them too much power because they are given power by the state. I get that. But if you have the right CPS defense attorney, he will put a stop to that because he will fight for your rights. A court appointed attorney will never fight for the parent's rights. In fact, they see the parent as guilty. And they will say to admit you're guilty. Remember that. They're going to have you admit you're guilty in order for you to get your child back. That's a lie. Once you admit you're guilty and you're admitting to the guilt. So you can go back and sue CPS. Remember that. And keep in mind that everything they do is strategically done to save themselves. Okay, so you should never sign anything that says you're guilty. You should never sign a safety plan. Attorney Davis made that very clear. Always lawyer up, and not just Attorney Davis. That's a lot of attorneys all over the states said the same exact thing. You need to lawyer up. CPS workers are demonic individuals. They will trick you. They will literally sabotage you. They will make you look like you're a perpetrator. They will make you look like you're a sex offender. You'll make you look like you're a child molester. They will do everything in their power for you to lose your job, for nobody to want to hire you, for you not to be around your child again or children, for you not to be around any other child. Because to them, that's like satisfaction that they have the upper hand. These people are narcissistic, sociopathic individuals. They will never, ever, ever, ever stop doing what they're doing. The ones who resign from the company, from the department, are the ones who have, like, they literally, they have morals. They can't keep doing what they're doing. The ones that remain in the department are the ones who love doing what they're doing. But they will use that I took the job on because I want to help families. That's BS, because not one reunification services were ever given to a family member unless that family member has connection with the Department of Children and Family Services. Just letting you know that. The reason they get funding is because when the children are placed in a foster home, they get the funding. If the children are placed with family members, they're not going to get that same amount of funding. So think about it like this: if they get $100,000 versus $1,500, that's the extreme amount we're talking about. So they're going to always go for the higher amount. They're going to trick both parents. They're going to let them think they're on one side or the other, but it's not true. They're neither on your side or the other party's side unless one of you guys have connection with the Department of Children and Family Services, meaning your aunt is a supervisor, or your the mother's uncle is a court appointed attorney or whatever. But there has to be some kind of connection for them to be on your side. So if you're the abuser, most likely they will be on your side, because they're going to come back later, because the abuse is going to continue. Then they're going to come back later and recycle that child. So it's a win-win for them, because now it's double the whammy. They're going to get more funding. So keep that in mind, that everything that they do, they're 200 steps ahead of you. I'm going to give the floor to you, Dave, and please speak up.
Can you hear? All right, can you hear me? Yeah, you're absolutely right. They do create a cycle of recidivism, and they create more opportunities for themselves to grow from the very beginning. It's like the children are just out there; they're a crop to be harvested. Their lives are their intellectual property in which they can profit from. They start brainwashing these children so that there's no hope. I was just for any of your audience members that aren't familiar, I grew up in an orphanage. I was in foster care for many, many years, and I saw this firsthand. I lived through this. I was thrown away like garbage on my 18th birthday simply because I was no longer profitable and my life didn't mean anything to them. And this is the mentality that they ingrain into these children. I still talk to my foster mother even 35 years, 40 years later. Um, and she's still my mom. She's the lady that raised me. And she tells me about some of these kids that she's dealt with over the years, over the decades, in which it's now generational. She's seen that the grandchildren of the kids she had when I was there 40 years ago are now coming back and being placed with her again. And that's insane. This is 3 generations that can't get out of the cycle, the loop. It's what's the I'm gonna be careful about quoting the person, but the definition of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Maybe we as a society don't see this enough, and we're letting this happen and seeing the same thing happen over and over again without ever trying to break the cycle. And honestly, it's like you're saying, it's just profitable to these corporations. It's ridiculous. My foster mother, she's still making the exact same amount per child that she did now that she was doing 40 years ago. But the caseworker who was my caseworker and one of my many caseworkers, he's now the president of the company, and he has a 7-figure income per year. I mean, that's pretty good for being a social worker. So if there are any social workers out there, yeah, it is profitable, but you have to throw your soul away. You have to throw yourself dignity away. You have to be willing to sell out a child and their future and their children's future, and to let them know. I still remember my original caseworker. Her name was Mary Jane Hill from Northampton County, Pennsylvania. She was out of Easton, and she's passed away now, obviously, and she's just a horrible person. I remember her blatantly making up lies and failing to do the basics. My mother, she was a hoarder. She was an extreme hoarder. I remember, without getting too much detail, I'm kind of glad that the county did come in at some point and take me out of there. But then they got me to the point where when they did try and place me back there and my mother's mental health issues weren't being addressed, the hoarding situation wasn't being addressed, the deterioration of my grandmother, her mother, she was living there rotting away in a basement room while I can remember her screaming and saying that her commode was overfilling, please help me, please let me die, and my mother would just ignore it. And stop it, kitty cat, and just go on from there. And then when I got into foster care, I was there for about a year, and then I was placed back with her. And what I wound up doing is I had a pretty good sense of direction at 13 years old. My foster home was about 14, 15 miles away. I knew the general area and the direction how to get there. So oftentimes I would run away at 13 years old through the backwoods and through the farmers' fields and over the rivers and through the woods to my foster home, and I would hang out there until someone would either report me that I was gone or question why I was still there when I got out of foster care. It's just that kind of mentality. But I mean, my mom she's really good. If it wasn't a safe place to go, I wouldn't have gone back there. I mean, given the alternative of living in a hoarding situation in that kind of terrible environment, but it's the cycle. They could have done something to help my birth mother. They could have stepped in and got her the treatment that she needed instead of trying to break up what little family there was there. They should have held my father more accountable for his children and the life he helped make and ruin at the same time. He was a man. He was held accountable to the same standards I am. When you screw up, when you fuck up, you own up. That's what it takes. And these children and youth people, they don't see that. They see that everybody's at fault automatically. There's only one solution, and it's their solution because it's pre-doctrined by a set of rules that a committee came up with. And they're just selling it off to the cheapest contractor without a soul. Go ahead.
I agree with you 100%. I actually got a call from a father today that had, when you mentioned the number 13, at age 13, he told me his son is 13 years old. This case is in LA County. They were having a high conflict custody case in family court, but it opened the case in CPS court because the mother's false allegation against the father. They had joint custody already, but she violated his rights to see his child, and then she didn't want to see his child. So the reason she did all this, and I know there's a lot of vindictive women out there. There's a lot, just like there's a lot of vindictive men out there. So it goes both ways. So her goal was to get child support from the father that, if you have the child full time, you're going to get more money, right? If you have the child 50-50, then neither of you guys really required to pay child support. You pay for the child when they're with you, and the other parent the same way. Now, that vindictive person, mother, which is the name is too big for her, she just wanted to hurt him, the father, because she wanted more money. The child is 18. It's not even a child anymore, really. It's a young adult, right? Because 13-year-olds are teenagers, they already, you know, you can't control them like that. You can't tell the teenager you can't see your dad because he's abused you. This woman is the abuser. This mother is actually the abuser. And a lot of you guys out there, if you're going through a high conflict divorce or custody, please do not involve CPS and do not involve the police just because you want to gain something from this. Because the only one that's going to lose is the child. The child is going to lose. The child's going to lose either one parent that they love, or they're going to lose both parents that they love. So the child is going to suffer the consequences of your own actions. To me, I don't care about adults. I really don't, because you're an adult. You should know better. I care more about the children, the ones that are helpless, and the ones who did not sign up for this crap. They were born. They did not say, I want to be born in this chaotic crap. They didn't say that. No child wants to be in a miserable home with two parents who can't get along. And this father, this poor guy, literally didn't know anything I was saying to him. He was like, not, how can I say it? He's not stupid. He sounds very educated. But the thing is, he didn't understand my warnings of how CPS operates in court and outside of court. He's like, but that's crazy. I went to mediation and family court, and they gave us 2 weeks here and 2 weeks there, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, but that doesn't matter, because when CPS takes over, right, whatever order that was done in family court doesn't matter. It's not gonna. The judge is not gonna say, "Oh yeah, family court judge gave us joint custody. I'm gonna have to agree with that." No, they will take that joint custody from both of you if necessary. The social workers will lie. Once you open your mouth to speak with them, they're gonna lie. They're gonna lie. They're gonna lie. They're gonna lie. No matter what you do, no matter how great you are, whether you got mad at them, whether you didn't get mad at them, they're going to lie. Period. None of them actually say the truth. None of them. Dave, please explain to this young man, I told him to watch the show, what I'm saying, because you had to do that with your daughter, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, when CPS approaches you, they are not your friends. They are your absolute enemies. Like you're saying, there's an old joke. How can you tell a attorney is lying? Well, the moment they open their mouth. It's the same thing with the CPS. How can you tell a social worker or adult protective service worker is lying? No, because they're opening their mouths. They showed up to work, basically. And there is really, it's not just children and youth that you have to deal with. It's adult protective services. They are one and the same agency. And if you're an adult, you can be put into foster care. You can really absolutely be put into to adult foster care. And how they do that is they rape you of your rights. Essentially, they'll declare you incapacitated. They will take, for some other unknown reason, my daughter, she's a fully functional, capable young adult with a disability, but her malicious doctor lied and falsely claimed that, quote unquote, she was not taking her health seriously. That is the low bar they set for these services so they can come in and destroy your lives and lie. If that was the case, I love to use it as an example. Nobody would eat at McDonald's. Nobody would eat fast food if they could put everybody in adult foster care. There would be no homeless crisis in this country. I mean, if anybody's listening, if you want to exploit the system, right there is a golden opportunity for maybe adult protective services to do some good. If they want to use that low standard that you don't take your health seriously as a reason to put you in a group home setting and to take all your rights away and to allow you to have all these things done to you, maybe that's a challenge. They're focusing on the children though. They're focusing on the families that are trying to do good, but they have nothing better to do because they're easy victim. They're the low hanging fruit of the system, and you always go after just it's human nature. We are hunters and gatherers. We are going to take the easiest prey. We're going to take the slowest, the weakest out of the herd. We're going to take any fruit that fall on the ground rather than picking them. And it's no different. They use predatory instinct. And my cat just knocked over the cat treats. I'm sorry. um, yeah, it's the same thing. They're just going to destroy you and take you for everything you have if you let them. They are not your friends. And it's just so maddening that we just allow this to happen without ever doing anything to really stand up to them. How can we? I mean, it's slavery in another form. Stu?
I just wanted to add to that. First, hi, Jancy. Just wanted to say a hello to you, my dear. And I've missed you too. I haven't seen you for a while. But guys, I really get like really, how can I say it? I get really sad when I see a lot of parents call me towards their TPR stage of their case, meaning termination of parental rights. And each parent I speak with all over the United States, Alaska is another one that I got today. Alaska and Canada, we've been getting a lot of Canadas. Um, always say the same thing. Well, the social worker said I'm going to have my child back. The court appointed attorney said if I plead guilty, then I'm going to get my kids back. I mean, they're all the same exact stories, all the same exact thing, but in different states. Social workers are literally all of them are coerced, not coerced. They're taught what to say, how to say it, when to say it, and how to push your buttons. Do you know how they push your buttons? By saying, We're going to put you on the state calculus as child molester. Well, first of all, they're not the judge, right? The judge goes by the evidence presented to them. Again, if you settle with the court-appointed attorneys, the judge are going to give the upper hand to the social workers, because that court-appointed attorney works with the county and the state. The judge is not going to object to the social workers. Why? Because your attorney is not objecting. Your attorney did not submit the evidence that needs to be submitted on time, because your cases are hearings. So basically, every case has a hearing. So see, I swear, I had a book. You know, the book I always show on my show, Mr. Davis's book? It's all the way over there. I want to show you guys something. Oh, here it is. Okay. Right in front of my eyes. So there's different hearings, okay? This is why I always text you guys Mr. Davis's book. So you have the jurisdiction hearing, the first court hearing, the arraignment and detention hearing. So the first court hearing is on page 23, is the arraignment and detention hearing. He breaks it down to you guys right here, okay? And so say your court-appointed attorney did not submit any evidence, like why are they detaining your children, right? Well, your court-appointed attorney should be able to submit evidence as to, hey, Your Honor, my client was not even home. He was traveling on a business trip. The one that was in question was the mother of the child, and my client does not live at home. He has his own family, example, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that attorney should be able to speak to you way before that arraignment hearing, right? But they always say, oh yeah, you're going to meet your attorney in the court. But what is that going to do? Then after the arraignment hearing, there's placement with relatives and family friends. That's on page 27. I'm trying to educate you guys, and I'm hoping you can share the video with other people. Then you have that, which is the placement with relatives and family friends. Social workers do not like this part. Oops, that part. Why? Because they don't get the funding that they want. A social worker wants to be able to get her Tesla, right? Be able to, keep paying for her mortgage. Social workers don't make $30,000 a year or $50,000 a year. They make over $198,000 a year. Okay, and they get bonuses for every child removed for that year. Okay, incentives. They get incentives. They get, yeah, Ray, you did a great job. You moved 15 kids this month. So proud of you. You're going to be a supervisor.
One of the things that Pinebrook Family they call them, it was Pinebrook Services for Children and Youth when I was in foster care. They're now called Pinebrook Family Answers. And I suspect this is indicative of all these, they call them nonprofit organizations. One of the other ways they raise money, you're probably aware of this, but they have these galas. They have these charitable events in which they take their trophy foster children or whatever child they want to show. They'll bring them up on stage. They'll show them off to these potential donors. And they are literally having a child, like in the days of slavery, or like Hunger Games, parade around, and then have these blind raffles, which you can get all these gifts, and they can break their arms jerking themselves off at the same time. That's blatant child exploitation, and it's available on their websites that you can see. Please attend this organization. Please attend this gala in the name of all these starving foster children. It's sickening. It really is, and it's legal, and they do it on a daily basis. I was asked to participate in one a long time ago. I started raising questions maybe about 15 years ago when I asked to see my records from the time I was in foster care. I was having some PTSD. I was dealing with some events that happened between my caseworker, myself, and the abuse he put me through. And I wanted to see what their official opinions were, but conveniently, just that week or month, my records had been destroyed. Oh, how convenient. I start asking questions about myself. I want to see what your responses were, and but the children have no rights, but yet they want to parade them around like they're some successful graduate of college. No, they're just the most compliant kid willing to do whatever it takes to get through the day. That really is who it is. That's just my take on that, and that's one of the ways they raise money.
I agree. So that's why it's very important for you guys to do your own research. Do not just wait until, anyone that has a hold of your child, control of your child, basically are not to be trusted. Not to be trusted. Like I showed you guys earlier, first hearing is the arraignment and detention hearing. Second hearing is the jurisdiction hearing. After that, like I said to you guys, the relatives hearings, where the judge will recommend the child to be, after the social worker does her or his thing with the relatives' homes. The judge would recommend, or the social worker was rather would recommend where the child should, stay, whether the grandmother's house or the aunt's house or the uncle's house or a best friend or a godmother's house, whatever. However, the social worker would traumatize any chance for the child to go with family, like I said earlier, because they take that money from the federal government, which is high, right, percentage, to place the child, if the child is placed in a foster home. So when they do go with relatives, then they would tell the social workers, they would say, for example, the social workers would tell the relatives, hey, I recommend you being a foster parent, because you're going to get funding, you're going to get money, you're going to get this, you're going to get that, every month, tax free. They just pin pin like picture perfect moment for them. Then they become foster parents. Then they say, well, you have to go against the mom and the dad. You can't allow them coming in. You can't do this. Then they go to them and say, well, the mom and the dad said that you molested the child a year ago at Thanksgiving dinner, or whatever. Then that foster parent relative turns against the parents, becomes mean and calculating and evil, to get back at them for what the social worker told her you said. So it's a strategy, demonic strategy. Strategy in war is to conquer when you divide. So they have to conquer when there's division. So in order for them to divide you guys apart, in order for them to conquer, they have to divide you guys apart. Same thing that's happening right now in the world, right? Palestine, Israel, blah, blah. Some are siding with Palestine, some are siding with Israel. And none of you guys live in the Middle East. So you didn't even know how it works. You're just going by what the media is telling you, but not basing it in facts. I lived in the Middle East. I know how it works, right? But a person that lives in America doesn't know how it works in the Middle East. So to me, I feel like everybody should just keep their opinion to themselves. Unless you live there, then you can have an opinion. Um, they're dividing all of us right now because they want to multiply numbers to move in for the kill. It doesn't matter if they grew up here, it doesn't matter if they went to schools here, it doesn't matter. That's written in their book. Same thing with CPS, it's written in their book. They don't show you what's written, they show you something completely different. So they can mislead you to think that they're there to help the children. What they've mentioned is that they literally have events where they sell the children. I am not joking. And some of you guys that watch my whistleblower show, literally CPS whistleblower show, she broke it down to you guys. They usually want a certain type of child, whether they want a white child with blue eyes, blonde hair, or the age of the child matters, or they want a baby, a newborn baby, or they want twins, or they want, this and that. So they have the right to choose what color baby it should be, how old the child should be, if they want a mixed child, like black and white mixed, biracial, whatever, they choose. And they get it. You know how? The social worker targets certain hospitals, certain people, and they use the help of a nurse. There's a DHS, there's a social worker in every hospital. And believe me when I tell you, they will pretend to be nurses. You will see a badge on them, but they're not wearing the nurse, whatever outfit, but they just have a badge on them. And you think she's legit or he's legit. It's not. They're there to get as much information from you so they can strategize to see how they're going to remove that baby. Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's really reminiscent. If anybody out there has remembered history, they won't repeat it. That's a very popular saying, and the Nazis were critical on that. Those who don't remember the past are bound to repeat it. And the stripping away of your rights was just one little thing at a time. One police officer willing to go along and say, I was just following orders. Another person comes along and says, I have a fake badge. I wear an armband. I have this on my collar. This is my power. Those are just trinkets. Don't let them have the power over you. It's because country is heading towards, and it probably already is paralleling to what the National Socialists were doing in the 1930s. It's history literally repeating itself, and we're too cowardly, too afraid to stand up to those because we've been conditioned year after year. Hey, the cops are your friends. Look at the police; they're on your side. The CPS, they're here to help. No, they're not. They're repeating history because just like in the 1930s and of the night of the Crystal Nacht, when they really took off, it was just a bloodbath, and it's just going to start like that. When my grandparents, they had family in Europe, and they would tell us how the men with trucks would show up with the machine guns. They show up them, and they would just take anybody. And I'm getting goosebumps remembering the pain that my grandparents were telling me of the story of their family, and anybody that would not come with them who wasn't able to fight, they were strung up. Any men or anybody that put up any bit of resistance, they would hang outside. This country's not really that far behind. When we don't have enough power to stand up to those who come to our home, when they come to take our children away, just like they did in the 1930s. Here it is, almost 100 years later, and where have we gone? What have we changed? Nothing. We're just going to keep doing this endless loop until we're all wiped off the face of the earth, or we're all Vladimir Putin's puppets. Like you.
Okay, I want you guys to listen to this attorney. His name is Michael. What he had to say about CPS. Hello, TikTokers. Welcome to Real Law Talk. This is a great article that appeared in The Appeal. It's a publication about parental rights, and it talks about how ACS, which is our CPS in New York City, is there to simply attack families, not to help children. One of the most important things you must realize is the importance of services that CPS tries to thrust upon families. These services increase funding for CPS and make it appear as if CPS workers are actually doing their jobs when they're simply not. So do not fall into the trap of a parent of signing up for services. If you have signed up for services with CPS, get a local CPS or family law attorney who's had experience with them, because these services can go on for years and they're done by third parties, so CPS has no control over them. And that's Real Law Talk. So the reason I love this guy, first of all, I spoke to this guy. I've met him. He's amazing. He's a great attorney. The only problem is this: he doesn't take open cases. He takes only investigative cases, meaning before the child is removed. Because he stops the removal of the child. Now, if it does go into an open case, he knows how to, kick butt. He has this Italian blood in him. I love his passion. Um, and he's right. He's right about he dislikes social workers so much, and he loves exposing their lies in court. And I have so much respect for him and Attorney Davis and Attorney Matthew Harris in Texas, and Attorney Davis in California, and Mike is in New York. And I have so much respect for those three because I had the pleasure of knowing all of them, and they're all great. All of them are great. But In order for an attorney to take on an open CPS case, he has to deal with the county and the state attorney, county attorney, the children attorney, and the district attorney. So basically, that attorney has to fight all of them for you. It's going to cost so much money. If you guys think that divorce and custody and family court is expensive, it becomes expensive in the state court because they're higher courts. They're the ones that have jurisdiction over your child. Jurisdiction, not a decision making. It's jurisdiction of your child. They take that child from you, even though you think you're the mom and the dad. You have rights to your kids. You give birth to them. You labored. You raised them. You fed them. You stayed up all night when they were sick and took them to their appointments. Took them to their therapy appointments. All of that is going to be literally destroyed in CPS court. You're going to be the parent that never took the child to the doctor. You're going to be the parent that never took the child to therapy. You're going to be the parent that never paid for any uh, uh, for the child expenses such as clothing and school supplies, all that, even when you have evidence and proof you did. I kid you not. It doesn't matter. Even if you have it in front of you, the judge is looking at it, they're still going to deny it. That's why I call them stupid. Stupid is when you know the truth, right? You hear it and you see it, but you're still believing the lies. They're stupid. Doesn't matter if they have a certificate, it doesn't matter if they have a degree, it doesn't matter because integrity and character is not taught in schools. Integrity, again, integrity of a person and the character of the person is not taught in college. You don't get a certificate saying you passed that, you mastered that. It's either you have it in you or you don't have it in you. And if you don't have it in you, you're always going to choose a job that has full control over someone. So whether it's a job with a badge or whether it's a job, to remove children, all of that. Pedophiles, child traffickers, they become social workers. You guys think I'm making this shit up? No, I'm not. They become social workers because that's the easiest way to traffic children. Usually the place that they put the children in, foster home, they know of. They know that foster home. They would place them in a certain foster home because they want to traffic these kids. And then the social worker would get the cut under the table. And think about it for a second. When a home says, I want to adopt a teenager, a 9-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, there's a red flag to that. Why? Why would you? Why would you go to Mexico with them? Why would you go to Puerto Rico? Why would you move to Puerto Rico after the adoption? Why? Think about it. It's because they're trafficking these children. That's the God honest truth. Oftentimes these hyenas will choose what type of child they want. Like I said earlier, the age of the child, the color of the child, the eye color of the child, even the hair color, because they know what sells. If you want to be a parent and you became a foster parent to adopt, in a cheap way, you're not going to ask for a certain color of a child. You're not going to ask for a color hair of a child or eye color of the child because you want to be a parent so bad. You're going to love any child you get. So when they have recommendations, that raises a red flag. Huge red flag. Remember that. And Jamie Lee has been, I've known her for so long. I love that girl. She's a great mom, by the way. But she knows how the system works. And I'm letting you know right now, I mean, they lied against this woman numerous times. It's to the point where they drove her so crazy and then they point the finger at her saying she's crazy. That's how crazy it went. That's how far it went. Her daughter loves her, wanted to be with her, but they want to destroy that relationship. I spoken to her daughter. She's a beautiful young teenager, gorgeous girl, looks exactly like her. And I mean, it's disgusting. We love you too, Jamie. We love you too. And it's it's disgusting, you guys, but you need to wise up. You need to lawyer up immediately. I'm begging you. This is not a sales show. I hate sales. I've never been in sales in my freaking life because I don't believe in that. I believe in helping others because what you do will come back to you. And I'm letting you know right now, I have seen the worst of the worst in these cases, to the point when the social worker, we had a case where the social worker accused the client, our client, that that client paid her for sex. Okay. So, and everybody was siding with the social workers and blah, 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 blah. And the case escalated, escalated, escalated. They will play the victim so well. They will follow you everywhere you go. They're not going to be the ones showing their faces, but others will, will follow you. They will follow you to the grocery store. They will follow you to the doctor's appointment. They will follow you from home to home. They know everything about you. They hear your conversations. You think T-Mobile is loyal to you, paying them every month? Do you think Sprint is loyal to you? Well, there's no more Sprint. Do you think AT&T is loyal to you? They can hear your conversations if they want to. They have that much power. They can read your email. They can hack your email. They can hack your Facebook. And if you made a comment, you showed a picture of your child who's in state custody, they're going to come after you. They're going to show it to the judge. They're going to say, even when your Facebook is hacked, for God's sakes, they're going to show it to the judge. Look, Your Honor, she's not supposed to mention, a child. And look at the comment she made. But then the client would be like, the mother would be like, well, I don't have access to Facebook. How did you get that? Think about it for a second. They're going to drive you so crazy that you're going to think you are really crazy. I'm not joking. There's a father, a couple, a father and a mother, who thought they were bipolar. They said, I think we're bipolar, Georgette. And I said, what makes you think that? They said, because we're losing our mind. I can't sleep. We can't sleep. We are very sensitive to everything we hear. We lash out. We were never like this. And the social worker thinks we're bipolar too. So the social worker diagnoses people. They diagnose children when they barely graduated college and barely graduated high school because they used to ditch a lot, miss classes. Yeah. Those are the social workers. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, about being diagnosed. So many kids. Every kid that comes through the door will be diagnosed with something. You're automatically diagnosed, and just because you have emotions. Bipolar, just because you're having a good day and then one day the next you're having a bad day. Yeah, that's part of life, and you do. You're hit with information, you're trying to process it, and everybody copes with things differently. And they use that as an excuse to get these kids right on medication, to get them hooked on these medications to chemically cook their brains. I remember this one sweet soul. He was a foster brother of mine. He passed away, and he had developmental issues, severe ones. He had the most purest, beautiful soul, and I'd go back and I'd give just about anything to go back in time, just give him a hug one more time. He had developmental needs, and he was also a very big boy growing up. He was probably about 6'5" and every bit of 400 plus pounds, but he was just a soft, sweet teddy bear inside. And he had the mind of probably a 3 or 4 year old on a good day. So he didn't see the world through jaded eyes. He had no political bias. He had nothing. He just wanted his comfort item. I'm not going to give any more details about him, but he wanted his comfort item. And if he had his comfort item, just like any 4-year-old, the world he was perfect. And but they didn't see this. They saw this intimidating 6'5", 400+ pound beast of a human being without ever taking them a moment to get to realize who he was. But by the end of this, the end of his very short life, I saw him one time. It was probably a year before he passed away, and the way he passed away was just it's unbelievably horrible. But he was to the point where he was taking meds throughout the day. He was drooling with just a steady stream of drool coming down off his, and he didn't recognize anybody or anything around him. But they're taking all these powerful, powerful psych meds to cook his mind and cook his brain. He wound up living in a group home facility when he became a young adult, and he had a temper tantrum just like a 4-year-old would. He wanted his blanket, his item, and the staff overreacted and killed him. They sat on him. They restrained him until he couldn't breathe anymore. Yeah, they do that to people because it's part of the business plan. It's part of the business model. There's no profit in it if he's not being overwhelmed with all these meds and placed in all this time when he could have been in a setting that allowed him to be himself and accounted for his generous size. I mean, he was just a gentle giant.
I'm so sorry, Dave. But it's guys, we can talk for hours and hours about this, but there's attorneys that's coming out right now who are, like I said, I mentioned the three attorneys that I truly admire. Not a lot of attorneys all over the states want to touch a CPS case. They're afraid of them. They don't want to deal with them. And other times they take your case, a family court attorney that has absolutely zero knowledge of CPS jurisdiction. Zero. But they will take a small retainer from you, make you think they're helping you, but they're exactly doing what the court appointed attorneys are doing. It's all together. If you don't find the right passionate attorney, you better believe you're going to pay for that. If you find one, you're going to pay for it. If they tell you they can show up in court for you one time with a state matter, a state jurisdiction case, they're lying to you. You cannot hire an attorney to show up in court once for CPS cases. Completely different. You can hire an attorney for family court on a limited scope, meaning if you want Attorney Davis, for example, or if Dave was an attorney, you say, Dave, I want you to show up in this case for me once. How much do you charge? Dave will say $1,500. Okay, that's including filing and paperwork and all that. Now, say that day the client says, I want to hire you again, Dave, for another court hearing. Same court, same case, and Dave will charge again. So by the time you're done, you're literally paying more than what you should have paid for a retainer, right? Because you're hiring on daily basis. With state state court, you can't do that. You either hire an attorney for the whole entire case, if it lasts 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, but the goal of the social worker for the case to last 12 months. Remember, every time they have jurisdiction of the child in their custody, they're going to make more money hourly, not daily, hourly. Hourly. Imagine how many kids. Imagine, just imagine. That's why they delay court hearings. Oh yeah, we're gonna do the jurisdiction. Well, it's postponed for 3 months from now, or this is postponed 6 months from now. You know why? Because the judge will come back and say, I'm reluctant to do anything because the baby is now calling the foster mom. It's traumatizing to the child. But other children, though, who knew mom, who knew dad, wasn't it traumatizing them when you stole them? That's what I would say. when I'm an attorney. That's exactly what I would say. And that's exactly what I want to say. It's exactly what I want to say. I want to say, hey, Your Honor, since you're saying the baby that was stolen from the mother in the hospital is dramatizing, since you guys prolonged the case hearings and you escalated it, and now you're saying you're reluctant to make a change from the foster home because the baby's calling that foster parent mom. But what about the other kids who were 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old to 12, 13 years old? You removed them from the parents they already knew, mom and dad. You traumatized them and medicated them. Made the pharmaceutical money billions of dollars, more than ever, because you were not afraid of the traumatized. I mean, the child's. I need to calm down. It is so painful to see a child cry out for their mom and dad for help, and you can't give them help because they're holding you. That's why I'm asking everyone to share and everyone to understand. Even people that don't have CPS cases right now, friends of yours or co-workers of yours, share this with them because they need to open their eyes in case a family member is dealing with it, in case somebody else is dealing with it. Most of you guys email me, and for me to text you the book or email you the book, it's better for me to text it because I can just copy and paste. It's easier for me that way. But this is free. I'm not charging you for this. But if you want a hard copy, you can go on Amazon and get it. But this book is like a Bible when you have CPS cases. I'm not joking. It's, I mean, it's not as good as the Bible. Actually, the Bible is number one. But I'm talking about it becomes your Bible when it comes to the case types and what you need to do in your case. What your court appointed attorney is not doing. And make sure that you always email your court appointed attorney. Always make sure that you email the supervisor of the social worker if you have any complaint against them. But also contact your legislative, also administrative, and write a complaint. Write exactly what's going on. I recommend you writing a professional complaint, not just an emotional complaint. When you're emotional, nothing makes sense. Nothing. So always make sure that you're in a sound mind, level headed when you write, or get somebody to write it for you who's a third party. If you have to pay $200, pay it, but get it done professionally and straight to the point. Don't say, I social worker has it in for me from day one. Don't do that. You're wasting everything on stupid crap that's not going to help you. All you have to do is say the social worker Nora Hernandez removed my child on October 13, 2023 from school for allegation made by my neighbor who is, retaliating against me because I have a dog. Example. And here are attached text messages from the neighbor, threats from the neighbor. Here is a video of the neighbor threatening me that she's going to call CPS against me and all this. So basically, all of that is important. Stick to the facts, stick to the evidence, and take away your emotion crap from it. Because at the end of the day, the judges don't care, administration don't care, and legislative don't care how a person makes you feel. They care about facts. So get it done, lawyer up, wake up, because without lawyering up from day one, you're fighting a losing battle.
Just, there is some really genuine good lawyers out there. One of the best lawyers I ever dealt with, she no longer practices. She was from Lehigh Valley. She saved my life, and she made a difference. she was genuinely a good person, and maybe that's probably what got the best of her. But I was at a point where I was fighting for custody of my daughter at the time, and things were beyond bad. We were exchanging police at the or exchanging custody in front of the state troopers, and my bills were racking up fast. I was making a very good living as a trucker at the time, and I was literally handing over my entire paycheck, over $1,000 every week, 25 years ago, to this attorney. And then it got to a point where she's like, "How are you surviving?" And I told her, "I'm not. I'm just hand to mouth." And then she's like, "Well, you can come over and do some extra work at my office if you're handy, if you have a little bit of time." And soon enough, it developed into a friendship because she understood what I was going through. She saw how I was trying. She's the only lawyer that I've ever known that went that far to invite me into her personal circle and to genuinely try and help me. And she did. I wound up getting full custody, a large part because of just like this. I learned strategies, just like Vince Davis is doing. He's helping people out here, sharing this stuff for free, to tell people, to inform people. You can't trust them. You would never trust these people into your home. You wouldn't trust these people with a sack of garbage, much less the information about your children. Yeah, but there are some good attorneys out there, and once in a while, a good person will come along.
I have to stop you, Dave. There are not a lot of good attorneys out there. I know that for a fact. I'm older than you guys out there. I'm telling you right now, there is not a lot of attorneys who are good out there. Just like people say there's a lot of good people out there. Not anymore. They're probably dead by now. The good ones are dead, you know? I mean, our generation right now, we have young attorneys who are just stupid as can be, that don't understand. They have rich mommy and daddy, that got them in law school. They don't know how it is being poor. They don't know how it is to starve. They don't know how it is to collect from the county. They don't know how it is to struggle. They look at you like, I don't believe her, but I'm going to take her money though. You know? So you have to be careful who you're entertaining. One out of a million doesn't mean there's another one out there. It's like Michael, attorney Mike from New York, he said that it happened to his friend, CPS. He didn't know anything about them. And when he was on my show, I believe he mentioned that it happened to somebody he knows, and that's how he got involved, and he started fighting them after that. But it had to happen to somebody. Just like an aunt or an uncle, like, oh my God, I didn't know this existed. I didn't know. I had no idea. I had no idea. I didn't know. And then they start fighting back. Get it? They start fighting for other people's rights. Same thing. Unless it happens to that attorney, family, or friends, they will know that this is a corrupt system. If it doesn't happen to them or anyone they know, they will never know. And again, it has to be close to home, right, in order for you to know there's corruption. So oftentimes I ask people, do you know anyone that went through this? They will say no, no. That's why they listen to their family, their grandma or grandpa or somebody saying, just do what the social worker tells you to do. Everything is going to be fine. You're going to get your child back. That's what they said. And grandma and grandpa believe the social worker. And they don't want to help their children, right? The parents, because they just tell them to follow what the social worker tells them to do. That's the dumbest advice ever. Ever. In certain cases, the social worker, certain states, I don't know if it's all over the state or just certain states, but I did find that out from an attorney. Social workers are supposed to read your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be held against you in the court of law. You have the right for an attorney, etc., etc. So basically, they don't even read your rights. They're supposed to. They want you to spill the bees. They want you to open your mouth. They want to hear everything you want to say, because whatever you say, they're going to add 200 letters, lines to that. And in court is going to be you said it. Not hearsay, is actually you said it, the parent said it. But in court, hearsay only works for the social workers. It doesn't work for you, the parent, right? Social worker can say whatever she wants, the judge will believe, but the parent can say whatever, and the judge will say, that's hearsay. Not going to hear that. You get it now? That's how corrupt it is. That's why social workers continue to do what they're doing, because no one's putting a stop to it. And it's so hard for you guys to say, well, I can't afford an attorney, and then that attorney, they make the attorney feel like, well, if you don't take my case for free, then you're not a good attorney. That's not fair either. A lot of people expect themselves to work for free. I would love to hire you guys for, 2 years for free. Busting your ass sets for free. Not get paid a penny. No one can survive that. No one can survive that. But there are some, not many, some, very few great CPS defense attorneys out there. But you just have to land one. Don't expect the retainer to be small. There is no such thing as 5,000, 1,500, 800, like this lady said to me. She only has 800. And she expects Attorney Davis to take the case from day one until finished 12 months from now. So a lot of people also tell me, Georgette, I tried to do my case myself and I paid so much money in filing fees. So everything adds up. But if you're willing to fight the state and county, you have to be able to speak to your parents, let them know that the social worker will make a very strong attempt to separate them apart, because they don't want any support financially, emotionally, or mentally for you. That's why they will separate you from your parents, the grandparents who are your parents. Okay. We're gonna have to end the show, but guys, remember my time changed. My show time changed from 1:30 to 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So all my shows now are 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay. And Mr. Dave, I'm so honored to have you. Seriously, I really love having you, and I'm glad you're in a studio. But again, if you guys know how to get rid of the echo sound, because I had to mute him, and I have to, when I'm talking, so because there's an echo. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. So here's it. See, so when I speak to him, there's an echo if I don't mute him. But when I
Yeah.
mute him like this, then there's no echo. So if you guys know how to resolve this, please let me know, or let Dave know if you guys know him. And because we need to we need to figure this out, and then that way we can have a better show for both of us to be able to communicate with you guys. um I'm going to give the floor to Dave, and I'm going to mute myself now.
Yeah, thank you so much. And absolutely, if anybody, aside from the technical issues, they're having editing skills, I could definitely use some pointers on that for my own channel, Pity Zaraz. And if you want to see anything like what we've encountered, just what they look like when they're showing up at your door, and what some of the things you can do to get rid of them. I have a video that's up there, how to handle CPS, and it's vulgar, but you know, you gotta stand your ground against these monsters, because they will not back down, especially once they smell fresh blood. They will go after it all. It's just like a feeding frenzy for sharks. It truly is. And Miss G, thank you so much for having me on your show. I hope we get the technical issues sorted out as well.
So before we go, I want you guys to know this. If you know an attorney, Dave, like you, that you speak highly of and you trust, please have them come on the show, so they can also educate others, so they know how to get a hold of that attorney in their state. So that way, again, we need to spread as much information as possible to bring help for others, right? Because if you really think about it, if there's a lot of cases in Tennessee and you know an attorney in Tennessee that does CPS cases, wouldn't you want to help others? That's what I'm asking every each and every one of you guys. If you guys know of one that you respect and you trust, please have them join me on my shows with me and Dave. Okay? So that way we can bring awareness and we can actually bring help for those people and questions. I want to be able to have the attorneys come on the show and you guys can call and ask questions. Okay? In that state, in that, like for New York, Tennessee, Alabama, Brooklyn. There's a lot of Brooklyn cases right now. There's a lot of Alaska cases right now, more than ever before. So let's put our heads together and work to help each other rather than you know fighting with each other. How's that? Okay, Dave, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.